Now, sometimes a limited edition can really pay off. Welcome along to the second in my handbag investment series. This week we're going to be looking at the Louis Vuitton Alma. Last week we looked at the Louis Vuitton Neverfull. Don't forget to go back and check that out. I'll link up here. You are in my store today. You're in Timpany's HQ. I haven't been able to film here for a while because actually it's been really busy. We're currently in the middle of Royal Ascot week, which means it's slightly quieter because everyone's at the races. If you do enjoy this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and share with anyone you think might find it interesting. Other than that, guys, sit back, relax and enjoy this. So what I thought I might do is start with just a tiny bit of history about the Alma. We're going to then go and have a look at the historical prices, and based on that data, we're going to decide whether or not we would consider the Alma to be a good investment. So the Alma is one of Louis Vuitton's oldest bags, and it can actually be traced all the way back to 1925, where it was a custom-made handbag for none other than Coco Chanel herself. It was initially called the Squire. Following that, it had another name, the Champs-Elysees. After that, it was finally called the Alma when she agreed that other people would be able to use the bag and it could go into, I'm not going to say mass production, but as in production for the masses. That's when it was called the Alma, which is after the beautiful tree-lined square of Place d'Alma. So currently you can find the Alma in 4 sizes: the Nano, the BB, the PM and the MM. There's also another smaller version called the Mini, which is actually doesn't quite have the same feel as, so it also came in the GM size, which was the size bigger. That I believe has now been discontinued. We do still sometimes get them coming through here, and they are kind of available on the second-hand market. The bag comes in various different finishes, in fact a whole array of different alternatives. You've got the canvas in the monogram and the damier. You've got the epi leather and the epi electric. You also got ones with various embellishments on, as well as the vernis. So there's lots of different finishes, lots of different colors, lots of different sizes. It's just such a fun bag that, even though it is a complete classic and has been going for years, still seems to feel really fresh. Probably the biggest rumour that I've seen going around on the Purse forum is that there is a potential that the Vernis is going to be discontinued. I think maybe people have experienced fading in the colour over time. As I say, I've just read that as a rumour. I don't know if anyone has any more information on it. If they do, perhaps they wouldn't mind sharing it below. So now we've had a little chat about the history and the different styles of Alma, I thought we might dive straight into the numbers. Fortuitously, we actually had a client that came in yesterday and she bought her PM Alma in the monogram canvas in 2003 for £450. That same bag in the same finish and size is now £1,070. So over, what's that, 15 years, we're seeing an increase of 137%. And if we pop the graph up here, you can see that the FTSE actually increased by 71% over the same time period. So based on that, you might think that the Alma looks like a great investment, and it is, depending on how you define the word investment. I think that it's good in terms of the fact that if you do choose to buy one, it will almost certainly retain its value, in so much as long as Louis Vuitton continue to produce it and produce it in the finish that you've chosen to buy it in, I do think they're going to keep increasing the prices and it will retain its value. However, in terms of you definitely be able to sell it for more than you buy it, that isn't necessarily guaranteed, because if we look historically at the prices of the Alma, so I've looked back at some of the ones that were produced in 2005, they're not necessarily commanding £1,070 when you look at buying them, because not only are the ones from 2005 quite worn, they didn't have feet, So there's some watermarking, they've been used, there's various things that are going to prevent you from getting the maximum retail price possible, not least the fact that you are selling something secondhand. If you want to hear a little bit more about that, why not look back at my Louis Vuitton Neverfull video by clicking here. I thought it might be quite interesting in this video to talk a little bit about limited editions. Now sometimes a limited edition can really pay off because obviously by its nature it's only done for a limited amount of time, and if at a future date people are suddenly craving that nod to the past about that era, for example the graffiti era with Marc Jacobs for Louis Vuitton, then it can really push up the prices of those second-hand bags and you'll make a really good return. However, it has been quite interesting looking at what has done well. So the limited edition Neverfulls and the Speedies have done really well in the graffiti, but the Almas not so much. So again, it's that risk return factor. The classic LV monogram canvas is a very steady, good investment, but you're not going to make a huge return on it if you do choose to hold it and sell it in the future. However, if you do potentially want to gamble and go for one of the limited editions, it could well turn out to be quite an interesting investment. Finally, in a similar way to how I mentioned it in the Neverfull video, if you are wanting to buy the bag for investment but also use it, I would caution you against that. Whilst it might retain its value if you keep it in the same condition in which you bought it, I wouldn't necessarily say that you're going to make a lot of money on it. So it very much depends what you're hoping to do with the bag. If you're going to buy it secondhand, keep it pristine and perfect, and then look to sell it again in the future, you might well look to make, say, a couple of £100 across 5 to 10 years. But if you are looking to buy it, enjoy it, use it, then it could be a really nice investment piece in the way that it will retain its value. So you'll get a nice few years of use out of it and then be able to sell it for the price that you bought it. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts on handbags as investments by commenting below, and other than that guys, wishing you a safe and wonderful week, and I'll be back here same time next week. Bye.